Good morning. My name is Martin Tyner with the Southwest Wildlife Foundation, and this is our beautiful wildlife ambassador. Her name is Helen. She hatched, and I have to refer to my notes here. How sweet girl. Okay, that's the date of transfer. The date of hatch is 2018, and it would have been um, May of the end of May 2018. I don't have the exact date. She came from a captive breeding program, and there's my girl. She came from a captive breeding program, and because of her disabilities, she couldn't be put back in the wild, nor could she be used for falconry. So she became a wildlife ambassador. So it would have been May of 2018 is when she hatched. The date that I received her, that she became officially a wildlife ambassador for the Southwest Wildlife Foundation, is uh, July 28th, 2019. The name for this is a peregrine falcon, and that's what most people know them as. And she is. There's a lot of different peregrine falcons around the world, and she's a North American variety that we call the Anatum peregrine falcon. Her scientific name is Falco peregrinus, which is the it means the gentle falcon. Basically, she's in the group with all falco, which is all of the different falcons from the little tiny kestrel falcon all the way up to the largest falcon in the world, which is the falcon. Her weight is about let's say ounces. That'll be a little easier for people to understand. Her weight in ounces is about 27, 28 ounces. Her wingspan's 2.5 feet. Her diet is primarily birds, though she does eat rodents as well. And so we order in frozen quail, rats, and mice. And then she does. I do have pigeon breeders that when they call their pigeon flocks, they donate the pigeons for the wildlife, and so she does get pigeon as well. Activities are very limited for her, unfortunately. Usually, when we have one of our wildlife ambassadors, they're also my falconry bird, and so they get a chance to fly free. The hunting season is September through February, so they get to fly free and go hunting like a wild falcon does. Unfortunately, because of her vision problem, she's not completely blind, but she's mostly blind. We can't allow her to fly because she can only see about 6 feet ahead of her, and so she would basically run into walls. She, as soon as she took off, she would lose sight of me, and she couldn't find her way back, and so she cannot be allowed to fly. So her mostly her daily activities is just kind of hanging around with me. She does love in the evening times when we're relaxing here in my living room, and we've got the television on. She loves to watch TV. She likes to watch the movements and the lights and the colors, and so she spends quite a bit of time up here, uh, sitting in the recliner chair with me, watching television to get lots of stimulation, and then she travels with us as a wildlife ambassador, so she gets to meet um, thousands and thousands of people every year and help educate. So it's mostly she is a wildlife ambassador, mostly sedentary, unfortunately, but that's the best we can hope for because of her poor vision. The peregrine falcon is has one of the best temperaments of the large falcons, and that's why it's Falco peregrinus, the gentle falcon. And she does have a real sweet personality to her. You can see she's being kind of bouncy because she wants to go uh, play, and she knows that we're this is not her normal time in the evening when we sit and watch television together, and so it's out of her routine. But as far as an animal to work with, she's very quiet and she's very polite and just a real pleasure to have. And she does because of her really calm disposition. Her uh, school programs and scout programs as a wildlife ambassador, she's perfect for. Peregrine falcons, just like anybody else, you have some that are more high strung. You have some more that are laid back. You have some that are more aggressive for hunting. You have some that are less aggressive for hunting, and so they each of these animals have their own individual personalities, and but as far as falcons go, um, generally speaking, the peregrine is certainly one of the nicest ones to work with. The prairie falcon, which is a falcon that I truly love to work with, um, they are incredibly aggressive and they have a very nervous kind of a temperament, and they're much more difficult to work with. Uh, and so, again, like I said, the peregrine is even though she's being a little bouncy today, one of the calmer and easier ones to handle. I got a phone call from a breeder who breeds peregrine falcons, and he called and asked me if I have need for another falcon for my educational programs. And at the time, I said no, I've don't need another falcon. And he says, well, I've got this peregrine. She's a young one. She's mostly blind. We can't do anything with her. We're just we can't release her. We can't. She can't go for falconry. She can't be used as a breeder. There's really nothing I can do with her. And so I guess he says, I guess I'll just have to euthanize her. And so I told him, he says, bring her over, let me look at her. And so he brought her over to me, and she's really quite beautiful. She's a pretty little thing, and she's got a little genetic thing. She's got a feather here that's out of place. She's got a talon that instead of turning down right there, that turns up, which is that's supposed to turn down because that's actually completely worthless because she can't grab with it. And then again because of her very very nearsightedness that she's nearly blind, you know she she has no value in the wild at all. In fact, in the wild, she would have never left the nest. She would never survived. Um, so he brought her over, and she was a pretty little thing and a quiet little thing. And I says, okay, let me let me contact the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources and get her added to my permits because I have to have each bird has its own accompanying documentation, and that's what this is right here. Every one of my birds, uh, everywhere that we travel, we have to have this piece of paper with us. And I know you can't read it, but that's okay. You don't need to. But this basically documents, the age of the bird, where it came from, its band numbers. The documentation to prove that the bird is legally possessed because uh, these were an endangered species and highly protected. So with all of the proper documentation, so when I travel around the country and do my wildlife shows, if a game warden or a Fish and Wildlife Service agent walks up to me and says, "I need to see your documentation," then I've got basically an envelope full of all of my state and federal permits that I can say, here you go, and and so this allows them to prove that the bird is who I say it is, and that I'm doing this in a very legal way. She does like to, as far as activities are concerned. The TV, like I said, because of her really poor vision, most birds the TV is kind of agitates them because there's so much movement and stuff, and they have to get used to the television. But she'll kind of watch the TV because all she sees is kind of blurs and colors and those kinds of things, and so she does get entertained by watching the television. She does really enjoy her personal time, just kind of her and I kind of sitting down and visiting together. And because again, vision's so bad, the sound of my voice is very comforting to her. When she's out in her chamber out in the yard, um, you know, she, when she hears strangers, she gets a little bit nervous, but when she hears my voice, she calms down. And so she really likes the sound of my voice. And as far as food is concerned, food is a survival thing. It's not really a treat. And so she gets all the quail and mice and pigeons that she could possibly want to eat. I mean, she's really quite a chubby little girl, because she uh, doesn't have to hunt, and so she gets all that she wants. So she's just kind of a pretty little couch potato. In the wild, a peregrine falcon like this, you would average about 7 to 10 years. Um, but in captivity, we can double that. We can go 15 to 20 years in captivity, and I've seen peregrine falcons in captivity, go 25, even close to 30 years in captivity. But averagely, uh, 20 years would be probably a captive peregrine would probably be about average.